Hello, this is Mark Tucker, and today we're going to talk about 8 things to do before developing Alexa widgets. Alexa widgets, which came out with the Echo Show 15 device, are little snapshots of information about your skill that users can see while they're outside of the skill experience, or even before they've installed the skill. And it's a way to invite them into the skill on a recurring basis. Now, Alexa widgets are in a preview, and so there's only a handful of developers that have been able to get in and actually create widgets. But if you have a device, you can see the widgets that are out there and get familiar with them. So there's a number of things that you can do now before you actually have access to create widgets to prepare you so when that time comes, you're all ready to go. And that's what this video is going to talk about. And I've received input from a number of people that are asking about widgets and want to get started. And because it's in preview, there's certain things I can't share, but I have looked on different things that have been published. And so I'll talk about those things that I feel comfortable, feel like that are within the scope of things that I can talk about. So if it's not something that's not mentioned here, or there's not a lot of detail in a specific area where you want it, likely is that I didn't feel like I could talk about that at this time. So let's go through these 8 things really quick, and then we'll handle them one by one. First, I encourage you to buy an Echo Show 15 and a rotating stand. There are some certain widget terms that you need to learn just so you understand what's going on with that. Get the device and try every widget that's in the widget gallery. Right now, there's only about 35 of them. It won't take a long time to do that, and you'll get a good feel for what widgets are out there. It'll also help you understand what are some good use cases for widgets and kind of figure out for yourself how that might affect what you do with your skills and widgets in the future. You definitely want to learn Alexa presentation language. Widgets are just APL. There are some slight differences we'll talk about as much as we can, but definitely learn APL. A great way to do that is with apl.ninja. They even have viewports sizes that are sized for widgets so that as you define your APL, you can see how it's going to look if it's going to fit within the dimensions of a widget. There's also something called the datastore. This is on each Alexa device has a space set aside where you can update data, and widgets can use that updated data, and that's the way that widgets refresh their content and keep people engaged with current content. And the last thing that I recommend you do is actually just look through your existing skills. Now that you have gone through the rest of the list and you have an idea of what widgets can do, kind of how they look, what you can do with them, then start thinking about what widgets can do for the skills that you already have. So let's go ahead and go through this list in a little bit more detail. So I know Echo Show 15 is a little pricey. I think together with the stand, you're probably looking at right around $300 US at this time. For the holidays, they were on sale for less than that. But I definitely recommend getting an Echo Show 15. There's certain things that are different about the Echo Show 15. For example, you'll notice that in portrait mode at the bottom here, and on the landscape mode here off to the right-hand side, then this is the widgets panel, or sometimes called the favorites panel. And there's widgets that are constantly visible on the screen at all time. That's different from other devices. You could use an Echo Show 8 or an Echo Show 10 or even an older Echo Show version 2. And they do have widgets, but you have to swipe from the right to actually see the widgets and interact with them. And the 15 has the widgets always on, and that's probably a big use case for that. So you want to make an investment and make sure that your widgets interact well on an Echo Show 15. And there's only certain things that you can do while you're doing development testing. You actually have to install it on a device to get the full experience. I'll leave a link to the stand that I purchased. I was pretty happy with it. It allows you to rotate really easily the device so that you can test in different modes. So here's some of the terms. And the reason why I include skill as the first one is a skill is just an Alexa. It's a voice app. 3P means third party. It means that you create it as opposed to something that Amazon creates. Every widget needs a skill. And so just wanted to bring that out, that what you already know with developing skills is important, and it's going to be foundational to what you do. And then widgets are just something that we're adding onto a skill experience. So a widget itself is something that shows content for a skill. It's a way to get into the skill, or a way to get information from the skill out to a user when they're not in the skill experience. And they only work on Echo Show devices, and only a subset of Echo Show devices. For example, right now the Echo Show 5 doesn't support widgets, even though you can create widgets that fit that size. Right now it's not released, and the Echo Spot is not included. The widget gallery is a list of all the widgets available to install on a device. And we'll look at that in just in a minute. Then there is something called the widget panel. I've heard it called the favorites panel or the favorite widgets panel. It's a place where you can put 0 to up to 10 widgets. On the Echo Show 15, up to 6 are visible all the time, and you can then swipe to see the other ones. And it's just for easy access to your widgets. And then there's a data store that's on device where widget data is stored, and that's how the content gets refreshed. So here's the widget panel. If you notice on the left-hand side, this is what you would typically see on any Echo Show device. It's the content area that gets refreshed. It gives you information about skills you've recently used, some news things, photos, anything that you've customized to be on the Echo Show screen. That's on the left-hand side, or in portrait mode, that will be up on the top. The other portion is the favorite or widgets panel. This first one's showing you that there's 4 widgets on this, and there's a divider between the left section and the right section, and so you can kind of give it a little bit more space. It's not super flexible in the layouts. You can completely close the widget panel on the Echo Show 15, and for example, have a slideshow of impressionist art or something. So you could kind of use it as a photo gallery, and then bring the widgets back up. But what I wanted to show you on this bottom portion is that there are 6 slots that are always visible, or can always be visible, on the Echo Show 15. In this case, we have a large widget for calendar and reminders that is actually taking up 3 slots, and then 3 other widgets that are taking up the slots 4 through 6. So just so you're familiar with that, there are spaces for lots of different widgets. You can slide this out a little bit more to get access to the widget panel, to the widget gallery, and to other widgets that are on this widget favorites panel. All right. So the widget gallery. The widget gallery is, think of it as the store where you go and get widgets. You can't purchase widgets. There are some things that you could do to have monetization through your skill, and then show different content or augmented content in the widget based on that. But it's just a list. It's a master list of all the widgets that have been published. So here it's showing fiber crossed, and if you scroll up, you'll get to go through. Like I say, there's over 30 widgets. On smaller Echo Show devices, like the 8 and the 10, the widget gallery is just a horizontal list, and some of the Amazon, the 1P first party widgets that are created by Amazon aren't available on smaller devices. They're only available on the Echo Show 15. This would include anything that's marked with large. So for here, like there's a calendar reminders, and there's a calendar reminders, large and then normal size. These large ones, and some of the map ones and other things are only available on Echo Show 15. So if you were to look at the widget gallery on another device, a smaller device, then there'll be less widgets available. But as far as I know, any third-party widgets that you create will appear on both. And this is an important point. The skill does not need to be enabled for the widget to be in the gallery. So you could have a widget and have that be the way that somebody first figures out your skill. They'll go through the widget gallery and like, oh, this is really interesting. Let me go ahead and install this. And so then with the widget, then you could have that take you into the skill experience. And the easy way to bring up the widget gallery, you could swipe down from the top and hit widget gallery, but is to say, Alexa, what widgets can I add? And you can say that for any of these Echo Show devices. And if it supports widgets, then it will bring up the widget gallery. And wanted to show here that I'll provide a link to this video and any of the links that we talk about. But here is a video that talks about using widgets on Echo Show 15. So that will kind of walk you through that. So next, we're going to talk about, these are the widgets that are currently out there. I'm calling them the early widgets. So there's the whole list of widgets that are available from Amazon. And I'm bringing this up is that there's really not a lot of them. And you could go through each one of these and understand what they do and kind of look at the UI and kind of map out how different things work so that you have a better idea of how to use widgets. So a whole bunch published by Amazon. There's Ambient Visions, which show you videos on your Echo devices. Sleep Jar, which does sleep sounds to help you at nighttime. Big Sky weather, really well-known weather skill for Alexa. These are the ones that I've created. You'll find them under Shazamble Design LLC or Show Widgets, and that's Magic Ball, Christmas Countdown, something called Busy Timers that I'm just finishing up now. Cookpad does recipes. The Daily Show has some of their content, and Soothing Art. So these are the early creators of widgets. So get out there and take a look at them and give feedback, leave reviews, let people know, let developers know that you're using them and that you're excited about what they're doing. So try them out. And the reason why you want to try them out is you're just going to get familiar with widgets in general. Well, what are widgets? What widgets do what things? How do they look? How do I use the widget gallery? How do I use the favorites or widget panel? Understanding what the typical use cases are for widgets, and just seeing some of the different layouts. It's a single page, it's a single image, it's a list of things. You can tap the list to do something. You can page, swipe left or right or up and down, page through content. How do you, if it's a little bit more complicated of a widget that has multiple screens, how do you navigate from one screen to another? So all that stuff is important things to understand. So let's talk a little bit about good use cases. So like a very simple form of what a widget could do is it could show you some content and have a button that will just launch your skill. And we'll look at an example here with Busy Timers to kind of show you that, but there's a button that says launch, and you can actually launch the Busy Timers skill and use that to add timers using APL screens as opposed to using your voice, if that's the way that you want to use it. Selecting from a list and then taking some action. So Sleep Jar will show you some recent audio that you've listened to fall asleep. Ambient Visions will show you different categories of videos that you can show on your device, and then you can select which one and actually start the process. So that's a quick way to get to the content and not have to launch the skill. You can use a button to trigger some sort of an action. An example of that would be the smart home favorites, where you can turn a light on or off, or daily treasure. You can open a daily a treasure chest, and the button will open the chest and show you what treasure you found for that time. You can display information from a skill. Two examples of this would be Big Sky Weather, that's showing you the information for your location and what the high and low is, and if it's going to be rainy. CookPad showing you a daily recipe. You could also upsell skill content. So you can use words like unlock. I'm not sure if there's a restriction on the word buy, but in the end, that's what you're doing is you're going to use the widget to go into the skill and then use the skills in skill purchasing mechanism to then unlock or purchase content. Ambient Vision does that. If I wanted to extend the video playing time from an hour to longer, I could unlock and use that. Big Sky Premium allows me to add an additional location to get more weather information from. So that's an area to watch and really think about, is how can I take advantage or add monetization to my skill and surface that. Even if it's a kind of a tease or an upsell situation, then you can use that. The last one, and this is kind of where I've been spending a lot of my time the last few months as I've been learning widgets, is a standalone. I say standalone meaning that the skill has to be there, but if you were to launch the skill is just going to give you instructions on how to install the widget from the widget panel, the widget gallery. Or like mini games, so like Magic Ball, Coin Flip, Daily Treasure. There's nothing that's really going on in the skill itself. There's no reason to launch a skill. The whole experience is the widget. That's not a common use case, but there is a place for that. It's your device. If you want to have a Magic 8 Ball there all the time in your widget panel, then go for it. So there are some challenging use cases. I was trying to think, should I say poor use cases, bad use cases? There's just some challenging. If you need to update individual content frequently, like really frequently, then there might be a concern. Widgets may not be good for that situation, or you might need to update things less frequently. If each user has very highly customizable data, like for example, the weather widget would be challenging because every user or every household is going to have a different zip code, or potentially have a different zip code, right? And so you're having to update every widget based on the zip code with information. So there's just that adds some complications, some challenges to it. Private data. You might have data inside your skill, and maybe you do account linking. You might even do like PIN protection for your skill. Think about which content you want to surface, because anybody walking by, whether it be yourself, household members, or guests in your home, you may or may not want to have some data surfaced for easy visibility. So think about which data really should be kept private and should never be in a widget. Also interesting is that you can install the same widget multiple times on the same device or on multiple devices in the household. And you need to think about, are all of them going to show exactly the same information, or could the kitchen Echo Show 15 be updated differently and have different settings than the one that's someplace else? So those are all things to think about, and some challenges that add some complexities to writing widgets. So definitely you want to learn Alexa presentation language, because widgets are just APL. So you can start today. You can start creating APL, and you can make sure that they look good on widget-sized viewports. and there's no reason, there's nothing holding you back from designing and getting really far into your development of widgets. Because basically you've got APL, and then you've got a data store, and you can simulate the data store in another way until the data store is available, and the docs and all the stuff that you need to do widgets. And there's some stuff with actually installing and uninstalling widgets. So there's things that you'll need to learn that you'll add on to it, but a great way to get going is learning APL. So there's a small subset of features not supported in widgets. I'm not really going to go into it. I just wanted to bring out one that there's been curiosity about. Right now, you can't do video. A widget cannot show video. You can use a widget to launch a skill to show video, but the widget itself can't show video. And that kind of makes sense because these are running on the device, and they're, for the most part, always on when they're visible. And you don't want to use up a lot of cycles playing video, and so that makes sense. There are some new components. You'll just have to kind of wait for the documentation on those, and some new viewport sizes, which are what each of the different widgets look like on some of the different devices. So if you want to learn APL, there's a video series that I did for Dabble Lab on APL, and there's also Alexa Learning Lab has some new content on APL. So if we were going to go here to, probably the easiest way is just go to apl.ninja, and under blog, you can scroll down and you can find Dabble Lab APL videos. And here's a link to all the different YouTube videos on APL. You can also go into the link provided to the Learning Lab, and there's a whole course on APL. So, foundations of APL, creating a basic skill, even some advanced topics and best practices. So I definitely encourage you to spend the time to go through this content to learn APL. And let me know online on Twitter. You can find me at Mark Tucker if you have questions on APL, or on some of the Slack groups. All right, so let's talk about apl.ninja. apl.ninja is an awesome resource. Alexander Martin did a great job with that. He's still making improvements. So besides accessing blog posts that I showed you, you can actually go in and look at content and play around with APL and kind of design some things, share it with others, either publicly or privately. But the thing I wanted to point out is that on the UI, there's a place where you can specify device, and under device, you can find this category called Hub Widget Medium, and then select which device you want to show your widget on. And here's an example of busy timers shown as a Hub Widget Medium, Echo Show 15 in landscape mode. And you can see the content. You're like, oh, this looks pretty good. It's it fits well. Plus, there's some interactivity that you can do. For example, I could launch, and this launch button's going to actually, would send a user event from the APL back to the skill, and I could even see, kind of this little bubble pop up saying, oh, this event was fired, and this is the information that's getting passed back for that. So let's take a quick look at this busy timers APL. This kind of like was a work in progress portion. I don't have any of the data store stuff added into this one, but if you take a look at this, then you can see that the version is APL version is the recent version 2022.2. The Alexa layouts, I've imported that library, and that is version 1.6.0. Let's see. Got a challenge here with the UI froze for a second. Let's see. That helps. There we go. All right, so let's just take a look at what we've got here. All the different APL components that you are used to doing, you can use in widgets. So here is a pager control. And typically a pager control you can slide, but I actually have that locked in navigation to none, so I can't slide to get to it. That actually was because I did a button press. So this is the way the UI looks. If I hit the launch button, I see this little pop-up that gives me information that yes, this user event got fired. If I tap one of these widgets, I see the next page in the pager, and I can go back, and if I add more time, or if I delete, then I see this updating progress dots, and then it goes back to this page. So really that's all we've got in here is this pager with these 3 pages. This first one is it's got this Alexa background that I'm using, which is a built-in component or part of layouts. Alexa header I'm using here for that content. This is my little hint text. I'm using a sequence for a list of items. I've created my own component up there under layouts that is each one of these different timer values. And I've got a button here at the bottom, and that's a new component. Then I've got my second page is when I'm in here. Here's my back button in the header and the functionality with that. I've got this image, this component that I created. I have an icon button here. I also have this button down here at the bottom. So that's that, and then the last page was just those progress bars. So you can see I'm using a lot of the function, the items that are already available as part of APL. We're just going to use those for widgets. Not a lot going on there. Like I'm using this Alexa progress dots, in this case here. So just learn APL and start using apl.ninja, and you'll be able to test out your widgets and kind of get going with that. And you can see on this widget here how I can change the size. Like once Echo Show 5's out, you'll see that there's less space here. If the Echo Show is landscape versus portrait, then that's a little bit different. So you can just make sure that your widgets are going to look good wherever you are. So that's that part. Let's go back to our presentation. So the last thing I want to talk about is the device data store. Now, this is a screenshot from a video, which I'll provide a link for. But that video was back all the way, over a year ago, in 2021. And it talks about adding this extension section to your normal APL document. Then there's a settings section where you can use that same data store name and do data bindings. That's all, there are some differences to how it works today, but the concept is generally the same. So just think about your data store. There's going to be limited space on your device for each widget, so you can't put lots and lots of information there, but enough to update content. You can update the data store itself via some API. So some out of process thing could be doing something and updating content or updating the widgets for all the different data, or you could inside your skill could call the API or return a directive which would update the data store, and then that's how you get new content. And really the way that you want to do it is you want your skill or some other system to push updates to the widget as opposed to a widget like pulling the information. Oh, something I didn't show you while I was in here is that this data section provides like the name of busy time. It gives me, you know, captions. I try to localize all of my content out here in data. Right here is this timers array, and that's showing me my list of timers here. What's going to happen once we get data, the data store implemented, is we're going to take this timers and move it over into the data store. And so, but using this, you know, same binding concepts that we already know in APL, then there's not a lot that we have to do to then have the widget use the values from the data store to display, as opposed to hard coding in here. So this is also a way that you could get started. Is just use this data section here for any of the content that you want to show in your widget, and then once widget, you have access to widget, you know, functionality and documentation, and then you can decide, do I need to move this information over to the data store, or, you know, do I not every widget requires the data store, so you can make that decision once you have that figured out. All right, so next. The next thing that you need to do is just review your existing skills and see, you know, where it might make sense. So let's just kind of walk through. Picture guesser is a skill I wrote a long time ago. It requires an echo show device. It shows you a picture that's covered in numbered tiles. As you remove tiles, you see part of the picture and you can guess, and, you know, you get points, more points if you have, you know, if you removed less tiles. So you could have, you know, if right now there's not a leaderboard, but you could have a weekly or monthly leaderboard, and periodically the widget could be updated to show you the leaderboard information. Or, yeah, it could present maybe even as just kind of a mini little picture puzzle that you could, you know, tap to uncover, and then you know, if they tap to go into the skill, then you could get credit for that mini puzzle that you solved, and then they're right into the content where they keep going. So it's a way to kind of remind them about picture guesser and bring them in. That's one idea. Snatch word is a game where you say a word, and you get points based on how big the word is and how many times people are asking about it, and you can you kind of reserve that word, and then after so much time has expired, you either have to renew the word, or somebody else could snatch the word from you. So I could see a widget that shows you, like, again, a leaderboard. It shows you like maybe when your words expire to remind you to go in and renew them. Maybe it shows you words that have recently been released, so that people could, you know, snatch them. That part would kind of be challenging, because somebody could snatch the word. So then do you update the content with new words, and you know, so there's like lots of things that you'd have to think through that, but that's some things that you could do. Serve more lets you enter a zip code, and it will show you places, you know, to serve and volunteer in your community. I could see that being something that maybe there's like a daily activity that it would pick something and update, you know, per area, to kind of remind you, oh, there are service opportunities around me. This last one is show widgets. I just wanted you to include that, mostly because I have the skill itself doesn't do anything, but the show widget skill has to exist there. And if you look at the details, there's 5 different widgets that go along with this skill. But without it, you know, having any skill functionality, still 21 people have decided to use the widget and go and take the time to add comments and give it a rating. So that was something that I thought was interesting. So in the 2 months that I've been doing widgets, that they've been released, this is the Christmas countdown, has been out there for less than a month. This just shows you how many total widget installs. So we're approaching almost 15,000 widget installs for the Magic Ball, almost 5,000 for that countdown, Christmas countdown widget. And the magic 8-ball, I keep track of every time somebody shakes the magic 8-ball. And we've just got over 100,000 shakes of the magic ball. So that's kind of what I've seen in my usage in the last few months that I've been doing widgets. So I just want to say good luck on discovering widgets for yourself and preparing, doing all the things that you can do now to get ready for creating widgets. Let me know if I can help. Hit me up on Twitter, and I'll be able to answer what I can. You can also find me on Slack. So just good luck and enjoy creating widgets. Thank you.